Ah, well, I guess I got to eat my words. In an earlier review, specifically the one about Riders of Justice, it's a Danish film, and I said, check this movie out before they do a crappy American remake. The problem is, this movie I really enjoyed. And it wasn't until the final credits rolled that I realized that it is a remake of a Danish film. Well. It is what it is. The Guilty is a remake of a Danish film of the same name. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Joe, a 911 operator, and tells the story over the course of one night of a very intense and stressful night shift for Joe after he receives a call from a woman who has been abducted. And I thought the movie was really good. Its whole thing is that it never leaves Joe's perspective, save for a few brief shots that come across more as Joe imagining what the scene would look like as he's listening to it play out. He only uses one phone, though. It's really fun and gripping to see the lengths that Joe will go to try to get even the tiniest little bit of information for the situation that he finds himself in based on his very limited resources. And the director of Training Day isn't a slouch with keeping the camera moving, which helps make scenes that would probably be boring otherwise quite engaging and dynamic. Now, the performance from Jake Gyllenhaal was going to either make or break this movie. That's obvious. But come on. It's Jake Gyllenhaal. He's phenomenal, and he has been for like the last dozen or so movies that he's done. He has definitely found his niche when it comes to playing these complicated and damaged characters. And while the character of Joe in The Guilty definitely comes across as the lightest of those sorts of characters, he still gives it his all, and it's a very captivating performance. And while the shtick of staying solely focused on Joe is mostly positive, it's fun to play guess who's playing the colors as the movie goes on as Joe gets calls before and after that main one. There are a couple moments that ended up dragging on a little bit too long. And like the rest of the movie, those scenes are just conversations that Joe is having with somebody else on the phone, but there are two very distinct conversations that could have benefited from being cut down a little bit. I mean, I get that they were going for that emotional connection in both cases, but shaving off a minute or two, or heck, even just 30 seconds, would have helped tighten everything up. This movie's a quick watch too. It's like 90 minutes, which is perfect for a story like this. Well, I guess a few minutes shorter would have been better, clearly, in my opinion. But you know what I mean. Now, by the end, the way a couple things work out definitely had me rolling my eyes, but since they weren't like the center focus for the motivation of the character, it was fine and I was able to let it go. It's not like they ruin the movie at all. Just sort of like, let's play nice moments. I don't do this very often because I didn't want my scoring structure to be that way, but when I think about movies that I've given one of these scores to and then other movies that I've given the next score up to, this movie isn't like those, but it's not as good as these, so The Guilty gets a 7.5 out of 10. I guess that's a thing I do now. The performance from Jake Gyllenhaal is very good and the main reason to check this movie out. But also check it out if you're a fan of movies that take place in one sole location, have lots of intensity, or if you even just like Anton Fuqua as a director. This is much better than his other attempt this year, which was Infinite with Mark Wahlberg. That movie was still okay. This is much better. Completely different movies, but just based on the fact that it's the same director. In the same year. Man, he's been busy. And now I gotta track down the original Danish version, because after Riders of Justice, I have to assume that the Danish version is better. Although, I mean, I guess I suppose it could be worse. But if that's the case, we are then living in a very topsy-turvy world, and I don't know what's going on. The sad thing is, even if the Danish version is better, I've seen the American version first, and I think that that will have tainted the whole experience for me. Does that make sense to you? It's like when I was younger. If I would see a movie based on a book before reading the book, going back and trying to read the book after the movie, for me, was next to impossible. It's like, I've already seen it this way, and you've taken the mystery and the creativity that I would have myself to give the characters on the page. I'm rambling. How about you guys? Have you had a chance to check out The Guilty yet? It is a Netflix original, so it is available on the streaming service. Go check it out. And if you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.